Alright guys, TacticalRab again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The OpTic guys have confirmed their plans for the race to Master Prestige when the new game officially comes out, but the timing around this has continued to cause some serious questions, especially based on rumours that Black Ops 7 might be released early after all. Some other big updates on the day as well, especially what's happening with Challengers Rostermania right now. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Wanted to start here on the Challenger side because Major 3 is now going to be DreamHack. If you guys haven't seen the updates over the last couple of days, Major 2 we've known is going to be DreamHack Birmingham here in the UK for a long time now. Major 3 is going to be a very different event. So just to break this down, because it's kind of a complicated season schedule we have upcoming. Major 2, the preceding 2 months, there will be qualifiers. Those will be a single round robin, but a full round robin of the entire CDL season. So effectively every team plays every other team. There will be 11 qualifiers played going into Major 2, DreamHack Birmingham, 3-day event. There will only be 10 teams attending, so the bottom 2 teams after the 11-round single round robin get eliminated. The other 10 go to Birmingham. There's going to be a play into the bracket. We go from there. The other DreamHack events is totally different. It couldn't be more different in terms of how you qualify. So it's kind of confusing, I guess. But again, it's simply based on the schedule because DreamHack Atlanta is mid-May, whereas DreamHack Birmingham is end of March. So that's the timeline that the CDL are working with. So on the lead up to DreamHack Atlanta, the 3rd major, there's only 5 qualifiers. So less than half of the number of qualifiers from the previous DreamHack event. It's still a CDL major, but you know what I'm saying. It's hosted at the DreamHack Championships at those particular locations. But in addition, there's a minor tournament in the Major 3 run, so only 5 qualifiers and a minor in the run up to DreamHack Atlanta. All 12 pro teams will go. In addition, we think, to 4 top amateur teams. It's going to be a pro-am event. Not really sure how they're going to run. I mean, they've got a 3-day event in Birmingham, 10 teams down to 1. There's a 3-day event in Atlanta, next event, 16 teams down to 1 over just 3 days. So presumably Friday, there's going to be a load of COD going on. Probably 4 groups of 4, single round robin. The top teams, top 2 go through, top 2 go home. That's probably how they'll do it. It's how it used to be for the World Championships back in the pre-CDL era. Then we get an 8-team bracket for the last couple of days. So that's what's going on there. But in addition to that, there's also Challengers team passes. So it's a pro-am event anyway. I'm presuming the top 4 teams will qualify in some way and all the other teams get to compete in the Challengers competition unless they're going to run Challengers ahead of time and the top 4 teams from that then get to qualify for the main tournament. Probably not how it's going to go. I think that it was aBeZy last night who tweeted out that there was only 10 of these left, but now that tweet's been deleted. So not really sure what's going on there. Again, there was a bit of drama with the Challengers team passes for the Major 2 event in Birmingham. Just another thing that was doing the rounds. I think this upcoming weekend is the League of Legends World Championship. We know that some of the OpTic guys, some of the COD guys are into it. Kenny watches a lot of it. Dashy was watching a lot of it over the last few years. There was a bit of talk about that. I think the main discussion in the COD scene over the last couple of days around this was, is there ever going to be a player like Faker in COD, right? Like he had this incredible prime, making all these World Championship Grand Finals. And then the remarkable thing is that after his prime, he's then come back and had like another prime and is currently going for the 3-peat if he wins next weekend again. Don't know if there's ever going to be a player like Faker in COD. Don't know if there's ever going to be a player like Faker in esports in general, again, to be perfectly honest. But it's an interesting question to consider which players even in the COD scene could even possibly try and give something like this a go. Speaking of Rostermania, there's a lot happening in European challenges right now. These are loads of the rumours. As we know, Afro, Beans, they've turned up, we think, on the Cloud9 team, although not yet confirmed. So these are some of the other rumoured rosters. Harry, Mythics, F.Denza, Aspect, Vortex, Henry, Entertainer. Vortex is back at it again. You cannot keep this guy away. Don't know what Bance is going to do, because Bance did imply that he might come back. It wasn't really clear whether he was going to give it one more year right after the most recent World Cup. But as we know, many of the players are looking at Black Ops 7 and saying, might as well give it one more go, right? One more trip around the earth, playing a little bit of Call of Duty. A very notable name on here, though. Okay, we've got Dylan Cod, of course, making his return. Is also Whalers, because it's been a bit of a strange couple of years, really, for Whalers. If you guys remember, Whalers used to team with Gataga way back in the day on the Team Vitality rosters they had, way before Gentlemate was even a thing. But over the last couple of years, he's been playing Valorant with Gentlemates. Now, he played for them when they qualified through Ascension. He was pretty good. I mean, it's kind of remarkable that he was a solid, pro league caliber COD player back in his day, at seasons like World War II, for example, then goes to Valorant, totally different input modes, right? Keyboard and mouse, manages to get on the Gentlemates team, maybe with some help from Guitarga, but then qualifies, wins Ascension, qualifies for the Pro League, then probably wasn't quite good enough to keep his spot on that roster. They made a different team, and then, he wasn't really playing any longer. But now he's back to COD, right? So he's played VCT for a couple of years, and DM'd him, seemingly the BP account last night. Are you back playing COD this season? Yes, I will be playing Call of Duty next year. So that's pretty remarkable. But that's Europe. Lots of things are happening there. The rosters are becoming relatively clear. But apparently in North America, that's not really the case. We've got Bush Gaming, they're coming in, Tej, Proloot, Spart, Capsidol, but all the other teams, it's not really very clear what they're up to, right? CDC Intel says there's about 5 set rosters for next year, only a couple of announcements so far. And he also says that from the Halo players looking to switch, no idea who they're going to play for right now. I mean, they've said they're going to switch, so presumably they are, but we don't know where or with who, I think is the key question, right? Because loads of guys from Cloud9, from Envy, obviously the OpTic Halo guys as well, although there's some questions on whether they could look to form a OpTic Challengers team, OpTic Nation type thing for next season with illy. That's been a bit of a question, but it is interesting that a lot of the European scene, I mean, the game comes out pretty shortly, they've pretty much got their team set when the new game comes out, but in North American Challengers, nobody really seems to have any idea what they are doing just yet. So intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments. Of course, there's also the Stallions, I'm sure they'll have some idea. Zuma revealed a little bit ago that he was talking with Nero about even maybe joining the Stallions, but now we think Nero is going to the Ravens instead of Geo. So it's been an absolute mess in Challengers and even CDL Rostermania, frankly, over these last few weeks. Fire coming back to competing as well again. Look, as I say, many of the players that did good things last year and have done good things over the last couple of years, they're still here, in addition to many other new names as well. But let's talk about this Black Ops 7 situation. The new game's coming out. There was a bit of talk about this, whether these emblems are AI generated or whatever. I know there's always a bit of talk about this nowadays, because compared to some of the emblem logos from back in the day, this was Black Ops 3. I mean, any excuse, right? It's got to be said. And I don't know, are these AI generated, these generated by humans? We know the direction that's going, let's just put it that way. But the game comes out on Friday, November the 14th. It's always a Friday. Charlie Intel say there's no early access, there's no change. Activision has confirmed it to us. Because we saw yesterday that Forbes magazine, they put out a post that said if you get the Vault Edition, you get the game 3 days early. Now, that could be early access for campaign, for zombies or something, not for multiplayer, but who knows? Myles says that's what you guys think. Now, I think he's probably done that for the impressions, but it is what it is. Now, what was interesting about this yesterday is that OpTic then put this out. No leaving, 24/7, the race to Master Prestige returns. So love a good race to Master Prestige. It's always a great way to kick off every single year. The OpTic one has always been very entertaining. So we've got Scump, Zinni, Daltouche, Hitch, Maniac, Shotzzy, Bose and Purj. That is the team that OpTic are putting together for the race to Master Prestige. Is Scump going to do most of the work again? I guess time will tell. But the race is back, and it's happening on YouTube, OpTic Gaming's YouTube channel, on the 12th of November. So this raised a few questions. People are like, hang on a second, the 12th of November, exactly what do you mean? The game comes out on the 14th. So 14th at midnight, the game comes out. Now, as we know, if you switch your time zone to New Zealand's, then midnight happens rather earlier, right? So you can get the game 12 or so hours earlier if you do that. But that, of course, would be halfway through the 13th of November rather than the 12th. I presume what's going to happen here is they're like, all right, halfway through the 13th, we're going to be able to get on the game, but, several hours before that, we're going to get on, have a good time, get the snacks in, play some old games or whatever, kind of gear things up for the big release, which makes perfect sense. But also, again, it's just raised questions on timing, hasn't it? Because people are like, hang on a second, is this game actually going to come out a little bit earlier? Are they going to try and drop it slightly ahead of schedule, or are they not? Good question. Nobody really knows the answer right now. The answer is probably no. It will simply come out when it says it's going to come out. But again, the New Zealand trick will probably do some numbers. So that's the setup that OpTic have going forwards. again, there were some questions on, hang on a second, lads. You know, we've got the race to master Prestige announced. Where's the process, right? Where's the process? Again, we've still not heard anything about when that might be. I mean, I thought really now makes perfect sense, right? I thought if they were going to drop it, initially what did Hex say initially? OpTic Day back in August or whatever. Then it was like, all right, it will arrive in September. Then that didn't happen and it was through October. My opinion was, okay, if you're not bringing it out when you said that it would potentially be ready for, and there's further tweaks to make and other things that, you know, may or may not be going wrong, who knows, then it doesn't really matter whether it's October or early November. But I think it needs to probably arrive before the new game comes out. Otherwise, you know, maybe it doesn't massively matter. I guess it just needs to be here before the new season, right? I don't know. But in my opinion, it's like, well, not much was happening in October anyway. So, and also there was Black Ops 7 reveal and everything happening at the early part of October. So it made sense to me to be like, okay, well, if it's getting delayed, you might as well just push it back quite a way. But I did think that now would be a pretty good time to drop the process. So we'll see if that happens over the next couple of days before the game launches. I'll also share a quick clip here from Zinni. It's a little old clip now, but I just stumbled across it, so I thought I'd share it anyway. Talking about the potential, I mean, it's not even a potential, it will be a rivalry next season between OpTic Texas and the Los Angeles Thieves. Of course, Scrap and HyDra, are they the best duo in the game? Is it Shotzzy and Merc, right? I mean, we saw the other day, Shotzzy and Mercules, they took down this tournament, but HyDra and Scrap did a pretty good job as well. They made it to the finals of the K-Sun 2v2, and Zinni was asked, look, if you could pick up HyDra or Scrap, would you do so right now? But I don't think there's many OpTic fans that are going to say that, given the success of their team last year.
It's weird seeing HyDra and Scrap in green. It's almost like they're OpTic right now.
Imagine OpTic HyDra, OpTic Scrap one day. That would be insane.
Oh my god, that would be crazy.
Wait, Tony, if you could pick them up right now, would you do it?
Who?
HyDra or Scrap.
Teams have swapped if you
OpTic?
Yeah.
No.
That's a good answer, Tom.
That's a good, yeah. That was a test to see how faithful you were. See how loyal.
You're a faithful man.
Many fans also just excited to see what happens this season with Mercules getting a full year, right? Because, again, could you find a spot for HyDra and Scrap in that OpTic team? Look, they're obviously unbelievable players, but also, how would you do that? Where would you do that? You know, all these questions. I think with Mercules, it's a really interesting story because he came in last year. Pretty much every event that he played, he got better. Like, he looked better. Was obviously a crucial part to all the teams that he was on briefly at the end of last season. There is a point about, you know, the World Championship, the Grand Finals. Was the pressure getting to him somewhat? Probably yes, but also absolutely expected that would be the case. And then the World Cup, Mercules was probably even a little bit better again. So I think that's just what's exciting for the scene to see, damn, what's this kid going to do over a full season? We know that when HyDra came in, not many people really remember his Cold War year. He was pretty good in Cold War, but he wasn't as good as he was in Vanguard. And then the year after Modern Warfare 2 was generational. So for most rookies, their first year is not necessarily their best year. Maybe you can argue that for Simp, for example, but even for Simp, right? I mean, Black Ops 4 was obviously unbelievable, but, you know, when he got to Cold War a couple of years later, that was really the big standout title, certainly of the CDL era. Who knows what's going to happen with Merc, but definitely an exciting rivalry coming up, going through to next season. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Speaking of a couple of those OpTic guys, they are on this list. 6 seasons now for Dashy with OpTic, but it's CleanX and Simp that are taking the cake. So CleanX has been with Toronto for 7 seasons. Simp's been with FaZe for 7 seasons. Dashy with OpTic for 6. Insight has been with Toronto, of course, now since the Cold War season, halfway through there. Shotzzy, Snoopy with Boston for 4, Drazah, and then even MettalZ as well, rounding out the list. So not too many players that have a rather, impressive tenure with certain teams. Plenty of active streaks here, though, still alive with those various organizations. And a few World Championship trophies dotted among this list as well. Is this the year for the Toronto guys to finally get over the line? That is an interesting question. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.